Right, 5 March 2024, and today I've got another update. This is my daily update on all the news events that are taking place in Zimbabwe. So that is our political stories, our business stories, and our military stories. So today I've got a story that has been building up for a very, very long time, and we're starting to see the detail emerging. And this is to do with the current infighting within ZANU-PF. There is massive infighting within ZANU-PF, and this has reached the point where the various factions are making contingencies or plans for the eventuality of an actual physical confrontation. So the side which has got the army and the side that has got ED and the dynasty. So you will see that I did not mention General Chiwenga because I believe that the fight is not going to be between General Chiwenga and ED. This is going to be a fight between guys in the military and guys on ED side or the ED dynasty, because what is happening is clear. And I want you to remember, and I want to keep emphasizing this point that I'm making. The fight is not between people in ZANU-PF. It is the guys who are in the army wanting to assert their authority because they've realized that ED is trying to make himself permanent and to make the army temporary. So you must frame everything that I'm saying in terms of what I've just said now. So now let's go to the detail. The story that has come out today in the newspapers. So if you got the Newsday newspaper, they have published the story for the first time. And yesterday, this was all over the internet. So this is with regards to this vehicle here. And many people thought this was a joke, but it's actually not. It's real. So you will see that there are these two cars. These two cars belong to the Indian Mercenaries. So they're not people in the military of India, but mercenaries or private groups that fight in India. And it is now imaged that these people were brought into Zimbabwe by Mnangagwa. So Mnangagwa is the one who brought them into Zimbabwe. And according to guys that I've talked to, there is a belief that ED has been setting up a private group of armed guards. I don't know if they're guards or mercenaries or what, but there is a belief within the security structures that ED is using a certain place to keep these people because there are hundreds of them. According to this newspaper, hundreds of these people have been deported from Zimbabwe. They've already been deported. So people who are in the security structures have been deporting these people, but the belief is that there are still more of them. And what has happened, according to the official story, is that Jorum Gumbo, I hope I got his name right, who is a special advisor to Mnangagwa, is the one who introduced Mnangagwa to these people, and Mnangagwa personally met them. So I think this is where the difficulty is. And I've always said that Zida and Mnangagwa, those two, they've got a conflict. And you remember I mentioned that you can't have investors coming to Mnangagwa instead of going to Zida, because this kind of situation arise. Apparently, these guys came into Zimbabwe claiming that they wanted to invest in different sectors of the economy, particularly a brewery and an ethanol plant. And then they met with Mnangagwa. They also met with guys at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. So eventually, this has brought an alarm on the security services to say, why do you have these people here? What are they doing? What is their role? And obviously, I can explain to you, the Mnangagwa dynasty is seriously afraid that something is going to happen, and they have made the contingency plan. And this is one of the contingency plans. This is not the only contingency plan. But the belief in military circles, to people that I've talked to, is that ED has been setting up a private group of people to take care of him in case of the military going up against him. What I've always been telling you, that we're talking about ED trying to make himself permanent and the military temporary. So you can go and have a look at this story. It is in the Newsday newspaper. This is the biggest story. And as I said to you, we've reached a point of no return. Whoever makes the wrong move is going to lose. And you must understand that once you take this direction, so one team is going this side and the other team goes that side, you cannot go back. So the ED presidency is over. This is the post Mnangagwa era. You are not going to see ED peacefully moving around. After this, there is going to be a lot of security threats on ED, and this this is properly encapsulated in this picture. I don't know who put up this picture. This is what is happening to ED. John Doe everywhere. That is what happening to ED. He's got a lot of secret enemies, people that do not like what he's doing, and we are just about to see something very, very big in Zimbabwe within the next, in fact, between now and Independence Day, something is going to happen. And then after independence, if nothing big happens, the whole period is a period of secret conflict. There's secret conflict taking place within the guys in the military and ED. There's not going to be peace between those two groups. And then there's what we call the third force. And probably the third force is going to emerge the winner. The person who makes the wrong move is going to lose. And these guys know it very, very well. They know each other. So there's nothing here that I'm saying that is new. All this thing that I'm telling you about Indians being deported, have you ever seen me reporting it? But it's been happening behind the scenes, which means people know. The people who are supposed to know, they know what is happening and they know how to deal with it. Now let's take it to ED. ED was in Victoria Falls yesterday. He was now guarded by high-ranking officials. So you can see, if you look behind ED there, that's the guy that's guarding him now. He's being guarded by very high security. He was heavily guarded all over yesterday. And his movements were very constrained. He's not moving about freely. He did give a speech yesterday. Let me see if I can find the speech that Mnangagwa gave yesterday. He spoke, but it's clear that ED is in trouble. There's a lot of trouble in terms of what's happening.
I hope that your discussions at this conference will help sharpen our strategies and fast track our efforts to attain the Africa we want, as outlined in the African Union's Agenda 2063.
Right. So there was Mnangagwa there in Victoria Falls. He has finally managed to go back to Victoria Falls after that bomb scare. He doesn't know who was threatening him up to this point. The ZANU-PF guys are not going to know. Mnangagwa is not going to know. But the third term issue and also this issue of mercenaries, it has heavily angered the guys in the army. Imagine if you're an army in a country and your president brings in people that are armed. Not one or two, but hundreds of them. Because these guys are coming from Mozambique, from Cabo Delgado, where they were fighting and they lost. Now imagine how that feels to the guys in the army, to know that there's this other unit of military armed people who are all over the place, but they don't know who it is. They don't know where they're coming from. But these guys met with ED at his offices. So that's crazy, and it has happened. It's like you're reading a book, but this is reality. You're watching a development right now in Zimbabwe that has never been seen anywhere. And as I said, if we're not careful, we're going to end up with one side firing from this side and another firing from this side, and us people caught here in the middle, in the crossfire. I want to now just quickly go through one story, and then I'll probably shut this down. Adelaide Chikunguru, she has written to Mnangagwa, the former ZBC CEO. You remember she was fired. She has written to Mnangagwa and accused Janfan Muswere of insulting her in public, in front of her subordinates, and of asking her out through WhatsApp. And then he says, Adelaide says, Janfan Muswere, who is the Minister of Information, has thought that she was appointed by Monica Mchangwa and she was not competent. So she kept insulting the board, and he kept insulting the board in front of and the team of management in front of the subordinates, and that is why he fired her. She says that she was being targeted from long back and she did not do anything big. I don't believe Adelaide did anything big. Buying a Starlink kit for 3,000, which Oppo has published, is not much. It's not a big deal. given the fact that ZBC does not have a steady and stable internet connection. So you'd probably not fire a CEO for that. But I told you last week when we saw that guy at the airport being arrested, one of their senior management, I told you that they've crossed somebody. This is bigger. So remember, when a coup takes place, it goes through certain place, information, it goes through communications. So the ED dynasty is obviously cleaning up. And if you're not seen to be in that particular sector, particular group of the ED dynasty, you're going to be removed. Like I said, they are not going to sit there and allow, maybe, for example, General Chwenga to take over. They will not allow him to just walk in there. So what you're going to see is a fight to the top. And that fight to the top has started. The next 5 years is going to be extreme fighting. So every month that passes, the fighting grows. And then you're going to see your first body. When you see your first body, dead body, then you know that we're almost there. It's going to get there to the point where someone is going to die. And this is all in terms of the succession, the post-Mnangagwa era. Whoever comes out here must be able to stamp his authority on top of the military, stamp his authority on top of the business, remove the Mnangagwa dynasty. And that's not an easy feat. It's going to be very, very difficult for whoever wants to get to the top. There can't be a person that is soft. The person who's going to go into this position, we have to dismantle ED set up structure, or what I call a superstructure that ED has set up. And that person will have to be ruthless. And this is what you're seeing now. Whoever is making plans is testing. They're poking ED's superstructure, and they will eventually find the weak spots where they want to enter. And once they enter that soft spot, you will eventually see who it is. But nothing that is going to happen is going to happen in private. You're going to see everything happening in playing out in public. So remember what I just said. It's the military guys. They feel that ED wants to replace them. He becomes permanent and becomes temporary. And then there's the succession battle within ZANU-PF, where whoever takes over must be loved by the military, must be able to stamp authority on the ZANU-PF staff and remove the ED dynasty superstructure that is created. Then in terms of sanctions, the sanctions in Zimbabwe were removed yesterday, the emergent sanctions. So we've posted a tweet or a space by Hope Chungono. It was recorded by somebody and they sent it to us. That Hope properly explained what happened there, so you can go and watch on Gambakwe. Mnangagwa and his family are now on tighter sanctions, but the emergency measures have been removed. You can also go and look at Lieutenant Benson Matinyarare. He has done a video explaining everything. So you can go and look at what he said about the Magnitsky sanctions. What do they mean? Mnangagwa is now among one of the top people, the top sanctioned people in the world. He is now a liability, not only to Zimbabwe, but to SADC. So you see that there's going to be a big problem with Mnangagwa becoming SADC chairman. You can't have a SADC chairperson under those kind of sanctions. Then we want to look at Nyasha Mushekwi in sports. Nyasha Mushekwi has moved to a new club in China called Yunnan Yukun. So you can go and have a look at that. That's in the H Metro newspaper. And I just want to recap and we close. So there's a bunch of mercenaries in Zimbabwe, hundreds of them, that have been brought in by Mnangagwa. They had a secret meeting with Mnangagwa, and the guys in the military were very unhappy about this. So hundreds of these guys have been deported from Zimbabwe. That is according to the Newsday newspaper. I can go and have a look at that story. And there's obviously unhappiness by guys in the military that Mnangagwa has been meeting these people and letting them stay in Zimbabwe. These cars were imported into Zimbabwe, given number plates. And it's not known who gave them the number plates, how the cars imported, given that the guys don't have documentation. So people believe that Mnangagwa is setting up a secret group or a secret army to protect himself in case that the military has turned against him. So this is in the Newsday newspaper. I can have a look at it. And these are the two cars. I hope that these are not the presidential number plates that were being talked about last month. Because remember, president's office has got their own number plates. Are these the number plates? And these are the kind of things that we need to to find out, and I'm sure that will be unpacked as we go forward. Then obviously, as I said, Chiwenga has also upped his security, but Chiwenga is using the Chinese. So the Chinese army or Chinese embassy, because these guys are working through the embassy, is probably giving Chiwenga more security. And remember, at one point, Chiwenga lived in the Chinese embassy. That's crazy, right? So let's go now to the comments quickly, my brothers. I know that I've been neglecting the comments. I'm trying to stay below 15 minutes. So you see, we're at 15 minutes now. Sorry, Cherio Story says, keep giving us stories. I will do so. I'll keep updating you. And then Riyad says, I don't think Mnangagwa anobudirira pane zvaari kuita. Aruda kubva achiurayisa vanhu. That's true. If Mnangagwa is not careful and makes these moves, because remember, I've always said to you guys, the military guys in Zimbabwe are very strong. They're not weak. ED is not going to be able to do what he thinks he can do. Like, do you think the military guys are going to sit there and get killed? So let's say the generals think they're just about to be killed. Do you think they'll sit there and wait to be killed? So this thing of mercenaries and people coming into the country with different cars and they're from an Indian army or whatever, you must understand that we've reached a point that is extremely dangerous. You cannot move back from here. It's either you have a ceasefire or someone backs down. And the person to back down is ED. Because ED is the one who's temporary. The army is permanent. You cannot make an army temporary. You cannot destabilize the military. So the structures of the military must move from a promotion until the guy leaves the military and he goes wherever he's going. You don't want people in the military to be jittery. And then you appoint your son, and those are the kind of things I'm talking about, that these are mistakes that ED has made in the past few months. He has made a lot of mistakes. He has miscalculated. That's my belief here. And to me, it looks like when ED made all these plans, he thought no one knew. But you can't have a meeting as a president without being spied on by the military. So let's say the guys in the president's office are doing something. Right inside those guys, the military has put their own people. So this is what we call John Doe, right? John Doe. That's what ED is facing right now. So the guys in the president's office, they know everything about them. The guys in the military, behind the scenes, I've explained to you that there is another superstructure in the military. The military has a 30-year strategy going forward. There is no military that is a 5-year strategy or a 10-year strategy. Every military plans that if this guy lives in 10 years, what do we do? If this guy lives in 20 years, what do we do? I mean a proper military. And guys who are properly trained, like the guys in the Zimbabwe army, who have that strategy to say, what do we do if Mnangagwa goes wrong? They've got a way of dealing with him. And that is what you're seeing happening right now. Koma EM says, Gambakwe, you believe in Indian mercenaries, really? I don't understand this on political grounds. There is better than this to watch. Go into the newspaper and watch and read there. I'm giving you what is there, but I've also given you what I believe is a well-known secret in the military of Zimbabwe or in the security structures of Zimbabwe. That ED has got a unit somewhere. And this unit, that's why you're seeing this information coming out here. And this is what you need to understand. I don't want to believe that I'm the one who knows. If they're saying hundreds have been deported, who are they? What are they? Who are the 100 people who were deported? Do you understand what 100 people means? 100 armed people. Do you understand the implications of that in your country? Okay. He has just fired the Air Force general. Does that scream permanent to you? No, the general is not the army. MS, let me explain to you what I mean when I say the army. The army is a structure. So it protects the country. So when you protect the country, don't protect it starting today. You go back, Kunana, Mutapa, and all those guys, and say, how have you been protecting our country? Coming forward. That's how the army studies war. So in Zimbabwe, there's a peculiar situation in Zimbabwe. The way the Zimbabweans fight is not the way that the South Africans fight. And that culture in the military is what I'm talking about. Mnangagwa cannot come and say, I'm a president for 5 years. Then tomorrow I will move this guy here, tomorrow I will move this guy there, and then I will remove these 10 guys who ran away when it's raining. It's disruptive. So they will not allow it. Because within the military structure, it is an arm that should be able to operate. Let's say someone comes and takes out Mnangagwa. The military will be able to stand up and do what they want to do and what they need to do without having to look for command or answers somewhere else. So they've got their own structure. What is happening now is ED wants to go in and then operate on a day-to-day basis within the military, which is appointing your son, saying which guy did what, and dealing with that. Let's lock up these weapons and all that. So that is not how we deal with the army. The army is only dealt with through a command structure. And right now they are bypassing the command structure. And I think you'll see as time goes on why that is dangerous. You can't bypass the command structure in the army. And you can also meet other armed people. That is very important for you to understand, Uti. The president cannot meet armed people by himself. That's not cool. If president had that kind of meeting with the Indian mercenaries, that is a very, very dangerous president that is being set there. How do you justify that kind of meeting? And how do you justify the fact that they're driving around in Zimbabwean registered cars in Zimbabwe? So how is this justified? Without paperwork. And they're apparently being said to be running businesses around the country. Is that how they're camouflaging themselves to be around and to be called up at any time in the case of any eventuality? Can they carry out an assassination on a general? You know, those kind of things. Those are the issues that you have to deal with from a security perspective. And guys in the security structure, they will not allow it. They will not allow this to happen. And eventually someone has to back down. That's what you have to remember. Someone has to back down between the two sides. And it won't be the military. The military will never back down. The job of the military is to win. They fight you and win, or they die. That's the two ways that it ends. And you don't want to be on the wrong side of these guys. So I think we've done everything that needs to be done here. And I would like to thank you for watching. I'll be back later today if anything big happens. But otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much and a good day to you.